Hi, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. And if this is your first time visiting, welcome. Today I shall read for you Ali Baba and the 40 Thieves. Once upon a time, in the country of Persia, there lived two brothers. Qasim, the elder, married a rich wife. But Ali Baba, the younger, married a poor girl and earned their bread chopping wood. One day, while Ali was hard at work by a mountainside, he heard the sound of thundering hoofbeats coming closer. Just in time, he hid behind a tree, because in a moment a band of 40 thieves appeared, led by their fierce chieftain, Mustafa. The thieves stopped close by Ali Baba's hiding place, and Mustafa dismounted from his horse. He walked to the mountainside and shouted, "Open sesame!" As if by magic, at these words a door opened, and all 40 thieves followed Mustafa into the mountain. Sometime later, the robbers came out of the mountain, and Mustafa shouted, "Close sesame!" Again, as if by magic, the mountain closed and the thieves galloped away. As soon as they had disappeared, Ali Baba, full of curiosity, went toward the mountain and cried, "Open sesame!" The doors in the mountainside opened again, and Ali Baba entered, wondering what he would find. What Ali found inside made him gasp. Piles of gold coins, precious porcelains, silk tapestries, and sparkling jewels lay all around him. "What riches!" he cried. "There is so much treasure here, surely no one will notice if I take a little to ease my poverty." So he loaded his mules with treasure and shouted, "Close sesame!" As soon as she saw the treasure, Ali's wife wanted to weigh the gold to find out just how rich they were. She ran to Qasim's house to borrow a scale, but would not reveal why she needed it. Qasim's wife was curious to know what mysterious goods her sister-in-law needed to weigh. Thus, before she lent the scale, she coated its surface with grease. Ali and his wife were too busy weighing their treasure to notice the grease, nor did they notice that one golden coin had stuck to the bottom of the scale. But when the scale was returned, Qasim's wife saw the gold coin immediately. "Look, my husband," she cried. "Your brother has too much gold to count by hand. He must weigh it instead." "How can a miserable woodcutter have such riches?" growled Qasim enviously. "I will find out the truth at once." Poor Ali Baba was so honest and innocent that he told Qasim the whole story. Now Qasim, though already very rich, was also very greedy. In one day he had prepared a great caravan, and then he himself set off for the mountain. He remembered perfectly the magic words that Ali had told him. "Open sesame!" Qasim shouted, and once again the doors in the mountainside opened wide. Qasim went in, and the door shut tight behind him. He stared greedily at the gleaming treasures and quickly began collecting the best. But when he had all he could carry and was ready to leave, he found he had forgotten the magic words to reopen the door. In desperation, Qasim tried every name he could think of. "Open Salvador!" "Open Sebastian!" No, that's not it. "Open saxophone!" No, that's not it either. But the door stayed shut. The greedy man was fainting with fear when the doors finally opened, and all the thieves rushed in and found him there among his treasures. "Evil man," shouted Mustafa in a fury, "you have discovered our secret. You shall die for this." As he spoke, he drew his cruel sword from its sheath and plunged it into Qasim and killed him instantly. For 4 days and 4 nights, Qasim's wife waited in vain for her husband to return. At last she begged Ali Baba to go to the mountain and find out what had happened. Ali could not refuse. He went back to the mountain and found Qasim lying dead. A few days later he returned sadly, bearing his brother's body wrapped in a precious tapestry. Ali could not comfort the weeping widow, for first he had to warn her of her own immediate danger. "No one must know how your husband died, my sister-in-law," he said. "If the thieves ever find out his name and where he lived, they may try to kill you too, thinking that you also know their secret." The grieving widow promised to keep silent, but Ali was still troubled. He summoned Morgiana, his sister-in-law's quick-witted serving maid, and asked for her help. "I beg you to spread the rumor that your master is sick," Ali asked. "Let the neighbors see you buying medicine and looking heartbroken. After 4 days you can tell everyone that your poor master is dead of pneumonia." Morgiana quickly understood, and luckily she remembered that before he went away, Qasim had ordered her to bring a tailor to the house to make him a new suit. "If the tailor comes, he will surely discover my master's murder," she worried, but then quickly thought of a plan to deceive him. "I know what I'll do. I will bring him here blindfolded and take him home the same way. Then he will never know how to find my master's house again." "Good girl," said Ali, much relieved. "I always knew you were clever." While Ali was making plans, the thieves discovered that Qasim's body was missing. They knew someone must have carried it away, and therefore that someone else knew their secret. Mustafa was in a rage and ordered his men to find out who this person could be. They searched in the fields, the forest, and the town. It so happened that one of the thieves, while searching in the town, heard the tailor bragging that he had just made a suit for a murdered man. "Lead me to this murdered man's house, old one," said the thief eagerly. "Alas, I cannot, master, for I myself was led there blindfolded," answered the tailor. "But perhaps if you blindfolded me again, I could find it once more." So the thief blindfolded the tailor, and after a few wrong turns they stood before Qasim's house. Quietly the thief drew a cross on the door with chalk, and then went back to tell Mustafa of his discovery. Luckily, Morgiana noticed the white cross drawn on her dead master's door and knew it must be the work of the robbers. Quickly she ran through town, making similar chalk crosses on every door, so that when the thieves arrived, they did not know which house to attack. Mustafa raged at being so outwitted, but quickly devised another plan. He himself followed the tailor to Qasim's house, so that he would be sure to recognize it again. Then he returned and ordered his men to prepare 20 mules, bearing 40 strong leather sacks. One sack he filled with oil, but in each of the others he hid one of his men. He told them to remain hidden until he gave them a signal. Then they were to jump out of the sacks and kill everyone in sight. When these preparations for the plot were all made, Mustafa led the mule caravan into Qasim's courtyard. "I am a merchant of fine oil," Mustafa called out. "Enter, my good merchant," said Ali Baba, who had taken his family to live at his sister-in-law's, "and share our humble meal with us." Leaving his men hidden in their uncomfortable leather sacks, Mustafa entered the house and accepted food and drink. Soon the maid Morgiana found herself in need of oil, and thinking to borrow a little from the false merchant's sacks, went into the courtyard. As she approached the first mule, she heard a whisper. "Master," said a voice from the sack, "are you ready yet?" Morgiana was startled, but she was very clever and a quick thinker. "Not yet. Later," she whispered back, imitating the merchant's voice, and then went on to the next mule. "Now, master?" whispered another voice. "Not yet. Later," Morgiana replied softly. She suddenly realized that men, not oil, were contained in all of the sacks but one. Quickly, she took the oil from the 40th sack, heated it on her stove, then poured boiling oil into each of the other sacks, and in this way every one of the 39 thieves was scalded to death. A little later, dressed as a dancer, Morgiana went to entertain her master and his guests. Faster and faster she whirled, her eyes flashing and her hair flying. "She's a beauty," roared Mustafa, "fit to dance for the Sultan." As Mustafa spoke, Morgiana whirled past him, pulled a dagger from her sash and plunged it into his heart. "Morgiana, what have you done?" cried Ali Baba in horror. "I have saved your life, master," answered Morgiana breathlessly. Then she explained what had happened. In gratitude for her devotion, Ali Baba rewarded her richly and married her to his only son. They all lived together in luxury and contentment ever after. Thank you for watching, and don't forget, if you like these stories, click on the subscribe button and click on the notification bell to be notified as new stories become available. Bye for now.